The information provided in this video, titled Scholarships for International Students in the USA, what you need to know, is for educational and informational purposes only. It does not constitute legal, financial, or immigration advice. Every student's financial situation, academic background, and visa eligibility is unique, and the policies of individual universities and the United States government are subject to change without notice. Viewers are strongly encouraged to conduct their own due diligence, consult with certified educational advisors, and verify all information directly with the official financial aid offices of prospective institutions and relevant government agencies. The creator of this content assumes no liability for any actions taken based on the information provided herein. Most international students are making a $300,000 mistake before they even fill out their first application form. In the current academic climate, the sticker price for a 4-year degree at a top-tier private institution in the United States has officially surpassed the $320,000 mark when you factor in tuition, housing, health insurance, and the rising cost of living in major American hubs. If you are watching this from outside the United States, that number likely feels like an insurmountable wall, a barrier that suggests higher education in America is a luxury reserved exclusively for the global elite. But here is the reality that many universities do not advertise on their front pages. The sticker price is often a mathematical fiction. It is a marketing figure that only a small percentage of the student body actually pays in full. However, the path to uncovering the real price, the one that includes full tuition waivers, room and board, and even a monthly stipend, is hidden behind a massive wall of complex terminology, bureaucratic red tape, and highly competitive institutional priorities. Today, we are opening the door to that hidden system. We are beginning a 10-part masterclass that will deconstruct the entire ecosystem of American financial aid for international applicants. We are going to look at why a student with a perfect academic record might get rejected while a student with slightly lower scores receives a full ride. We are going to explore the historical trends of university endowments and how you can identify which schools are sitting on billions of dollars they are legally required to spend. By the end of this series, you will not just be applying to schools. You will be strategically positioning yourself as an asset that these institutions are willing to invest in. This is not about luck. It is about understanding the mechanics of institutional enrollment management. The problem this video solves for you today is the overwhelming fog of misinformation. Most students spend hundreds of hours searching for external scholarships from third-party foundations, only to find that those rewards are small, one-time payments that barely cover the cost of textbooks. The real wealth, the life-changing funding, exists within the universities themselves. Today, we are going to define the fundamental architecture of the U.S. financial aid system, so you never waste another minute on low-yield search results. We are solving the mystery of the CSS profile, the myth of the need-blind admission for internationals, and the structural differences between merit-based and need-based aid. This is the foundation you need to build a college list that is financially viable, rather than a list that leads to a dead end of debt or a rejected visa because of insufficient funds. To understand where we are going, we have to look at the macroeconomics of international education in the United States. According to historical trends documented by the Institute of International Education, international students contribute over $40 billion to the U.S. economy annually. For many years, U.S. universities viewed international students primarily as a source of revenue, individuals who would pay the full sticker price to subsidize the education of domestic students. However, the landscape shifted. In an increasingly globalized economy, American universities realized that their global rankings and the quality of their research depended on attracting the brightest minds from every corner of the globe, regardless of their ability to pay. This created a bifurcated system. On one hand, you have schools that still use international students to balance their budgets. On the other, you have elite institutions with multi-billion-dollar endowments that prioritize institutional diversity and academic excellence over immediate tuition revenue. Let's perform a deep dive into the first major pillar of this system: the distinction between merit-based aid and need-based aid. This is where most international applicants get confused. Merit-based aid is an award based on your performance. This includes your grade point average, your standardized test scores like the SAT or ACT, and your specific talents in areas like athletics, music, or leadership. These are often referred to as scholarships. The university is essentially bidding for your talent. If you have a profile that puts you in the top 1% of their applicant pool, they may offer you a merit scholarship to entice you to choose their campus over a competitor. However, merit aid is often capped. It might cover half of your tuition, but it rarely covers the full cost of attendance, including your living expenses. Need-based aid is an entirely different animal. This is what is formally known as financial aid. This is money awarded based solely on your family's financial circumstances. If a university determines that your family can only afford $2,000 a year toward your education, and the total cost is $80,000, a school that meets 100% of demonstrated need will provide you with a $78,000 package. This package is usually a combination of grants, which do not have to be repaid, and work-study opportunities. For an international student, finding a school that offers need-based aid is often the only path to a debt-free education. But these schools are the most selective in the world. To navigate this, you must understand the two ways universities handle these applications. Need-blind versus need-aware. If a school is need-blind, they do not look at your bank account when deciding whether to admit you. They judge you only on your merits. If you are admitted, they then look at your financial documents and provide the necessary funding. As of the current academic cycle, there are only a handful of schools in the United States that are truly need-blind for international students. Institutions like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, MIT, Amherst, Bowdoin, and Dartmouth. These schools have such massive endowments that they can afford to ignore the financial status of any applicant. The vast majority of U.S. universities, however, are need-aware for international students. This means that your ability to pay is a factor in the admission decision. If you are a strong candidate but require a full scholarship, you are competing for a very small pool of funds. If the university has already given out its international aid budget for the year, they might reject a highly qualified student simply because they cannot afford to fund them. This is a hard truth of the American system, but understanding it allows you to be strategic. You have to identify which schools are need-aware but have a historical trend of being generous with their limited funds. As we move forward in this masterclass, we will examine the specific documentation required to prove your need, such as the CSS profile and the International Student Financial Aid application. We will look at case studies of students who successfully navigated the need-aware hurdles by targeting mid-sized liberal arts colleges that are looking to increase their geographic diversity. We are going to break down the step-by-step process of researching the Common Data Set, a document that every university produces which reveals exactly how many international students received aid last year and what the average award amount was. This data is the key to moving beyond guesswork and into a data-driven application strategy. We are just scratching the surface of the financial infrastructure of the American dream. This first step is about shifting your mindset from that of a petitioner hoping for a gift to that of a strategic applicant who understands the institutional incentives of the American university system. To move from a hopeful applicant to a strategic one, you must first master the art of data mining. In 2026, the barrier to entry for international students is not just academic excellence, it is information literacy. Most students start their journey on Google by typing in best scholarships for international students, which leads them to outdated blog posts or generic lists that have not been updated since the pre-pandemic era. If you want to find where the money is actually hidden, you need to look at the primary source documents that every accredited U.S. institution is required to maintain. This document is known as the Common Data Set, or the CDS. The Common Data Set is a standardized report where universities disclose their internal statistics on everything from admissions rates to financial aid distribution. For an international student, Section H is your roadmap to the gold mine. Imagine a student named Jordan from Kenya. Jordan has a near-perfect academic record and a high SAT score, but his family can only contribute $5,000 per year toward a $75,000 tuition bill. If Jordan applies to a school simply because it is famous, he might find himself with an admission letter but no way to pay for it. However, if Jordan uses the 2026 Common Data Set for a school like Williams College or Skidmore College, he would look specifically at row H6. Row H6 of the Common Data Set lists the number of non-resident aliens, the technical term for international students, who received institutional financial aid. It also lists the total amount of money awarded to that group. By dividing the total amount by the number of students, you find the average award. In historical trends, many elite liberal arts colleges show an average award that covers nearly 90% of the total cost of attendance. If you see a school where the average award for international students is $65,000 and the tuition is $70,000, you have found a potential high-yield target. Conversely, if you look at a prestigious state university and see that 0 international students received institutional aid, you know immediately that regardless of your grades, that school will not provide the funding you need. This leads us to a crucial concept in 2026 admissions: the endowment per student metric. A university endowment is essentially a massive investment fund that supports the institution's operations and financial aid, but the total size of the endowment is a vanity metric. What matters to you is how much of that money is available for each individual student. Harvard may have an endowment in the tens of billions, but they also have thousands of students and massive research overhead. A smaller, less advertised school like Grinnell College in Iowa or Berea College in Kentucky might have a much higher endowment per student ratio. When a school has more money than it has students to spend it on, the potential outcome for an international applicant needing a full ride becomes much more favorable. Historical trends show that these wealthy, smaller institutions use their funds to buy diversity. They want their campus to represent the entire world, not just the wealthy suburbs of the United States. Imagine if you are an applicant from a country that is underrepresented at a specific Midwestern college. In the eyes of an admissions officer in 2026, you are not just a student. You are a geographic asset. Universities are businesses that sell a global experience to their domestic students. If a college has 10 students from China and 20 from India, but 0 from Brazil or Uzbekistan, the applicant from Brazil or Uzbekistan suddenly holds a significant strategic advantage. This is the diversity lever. By researching the current international student population on a university's website, you can identify where your background might fill a hole in their demographic map. Let's look at a case study involving a student named Elena from Romania. Elena was a top-tier student with a passion for environmental science. She initially focused all her efforts on Ivy League schools, believing they were the only ones with money. However, after analyzing the common data set, she discovered that while the Ivies are need-blind, their acceptance rates for international students requesting full aid are often below 1%. Elena shifted her strategy. She targeted 3 wealthy liberal arts colleges in the northeastern United States that were need-aware, but had a historical trend of meeting 100% of demonstrated need for the international students they chose to admit. By positioning her unique research on the biodiversity of the Carpathian Mountains as something that would enrich their science department, she secured a package that covered tuition, room, board, and even her health insurance. The next step in this masterclass is understanding the timing of the 2026 to 2027 application cycle. Many students wait until the regular decision deadline in January to submit their financial aid documents. This is a critical mistake. In the U.S. system, financial aid is often distributed on a first-come, first-served basis or through early decision pools. Early decision is a binding agreement where you commit to attending the school if you are admitted. For domestic students, this is often a gamble, but for international students, applying early decision to a school that meets 100% of demonstrated need can significantly increase the potential outcome of an acceptance. Why? Because the university knows exactly how many people they need to fund early in the year, and they are often more generous when their budget is still full. However, you must be careful. If you apply early decision and the financial aid package they offer is not enough, you are in a difficult legal and ethical position. This is why you must use the net price calculator on the university's website before you ever hit submit. In 2026, these calculators have become much more sophisticated, but they often have a major flaw. They are designed for U.S. citizens using the FAFSA. As an international student, your financial blueprint is built on the CSS profile, a much more invasive and detailed document managed by the College Board. The CSS profile is where most international scholarship dreams go to die, not because the student isn't qualified, but because they do not know how to accurately represent their family's finances in a way the U.S. system understands. If your parents own a small business or have assets that do not translate easily into U.S. dollars, a single mistake on this form can make you look much wealthier than you actually are, resulting in a $0 aid award. We are going to look at how to value non-U.S. assets and how to explain local tax systems to a U.S.-based financial aid officer who might not understand the economic realities of your home country. Step by step, you need to create a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet should have 5 columns: the total cost of attendance, the percentage of international students receiving aid, the average award amount, whether the school is need-blind or need-aware, and the endowment per student. This is the data-driven foundation of a viral-level application strategy. You are no longer guessing, you are calculating. You are looking for the schools that have the highest average award and the highest percentage of international students funded. This is how you identify the hidden gems, the schools that have the money but perhaps lack the brand recognition of a Stanford or a Columbia. But even with the perfect list and the best data, there is a hidden document that can disqualify you instantly before an admissions officer even reads your essay. There is a specific financial certification that many students fill out incorrectly, signaling to the university that they are a financial risk. If you trigger this red flag, your application is moved to the bottom of the pile, regardless of your 1600 SAT score. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the exact mechanics of the International Student Financial Aid application and the specific line items on the CSS profile that determine your fate. We will also uncover the secret of the mid-tier schools that are currently in a price war, using massive scholarships to lure international talent away from the top-ranked institutions. If you know who is losing the ranking war, you know who is most likely to pay for your degree. Stay tuned, because the next segment will show you how to turn your financial need into a competitive advantage. The CSS profile is often described by admissions consultants as a financial autopsy, while the FAFSA is a relatively simple document used by U.S. citizens to access federal grants. The CSS profile is a deep dive tool used by nearly 400 private colleges and universities to determine how they will distribute their own institutional billions. In 2026, the complexity of this form has only increased as schools look closer at global assets, digital currency holdings, and the nuanced economic realities of different nations. To turn your financial need into a competitive advantage, you must understand that the CSS profile is not just a collection of numbers. It is a narrative document. Imagine a student named Ananya from Mumbai. Her father owns a small manufacturing business, and her mother is a consultant. On paper, their annual income in Indian rupees looks substantial when compared to the local average. However, when converted to US dollars at the 2026 exchange rate, and after accounting for India's high corporate tax rates and the cost of living in a Tier 1 city, their actual disposable income is a fraction of what a US-based financial aid officer might assume. This is the first trap. Many international students simply enter their raw income data and hope the university understands the context. They don't. You must use the Special Circumstances section of the CSS profile to provide a line-by-line breakdown of why your numerical data does not tell the full story. In the 2026 application cycle, one of the most significant historical trends we are seeing is the aggressive use of the supplemental questions on the CSS profile. Schools like the University of Chicago or Vanderbilt may ask for a detailed list of household expenses, including the cost of private secondary school for younger siblings. For an international student, these expenses are critical. If you are paying for private tutoring or specialized healthcare that is not covered by a national system, those are subtractions from your family's ability to pay for a U.S. education. If you do not list them, the university assumes that money is available for tuition. Step by step, you must approach the assets section with extreme precision. The CSS profile asks for the current market value of your home. For a student like Marcus in London, his parents might own a modest flat that has skyrocketed in value due to the 2026 UK real estate market. On the CSS profile, this looks like $1 million asset. A university might see that and decide your family can take out a massive loan against the equity of that home. This is where you must intervene. You need to explain in your documentation that in your home country, home equity loans for foreign education are either non-existent or carry predatory interest rates. By providing this context, you shift the school's perception from Marcus is wealthy to Marcus has an illiquid asset that cannot be used to pay tuition. This leads us to the hidden mechanics of the ranking war. Every year, magazines and data scientists release rankings of the best U.S. colleges. These rankings are the lifeblood of university marketing. Two of the biggest factors in these rankings are yield, the percentage of admitted students who choose to enroll, and the academic profile of the incoming class. In 2026 mid-tier elite schools, those ranked between 25 and 60, are in a fierce battle for talent. They are often overlooked by students who only apply to the Ivy League. Because these schools want to climb the rankings, they are willing to use their endowments to buy students who would otherwise go to a top 10 school. Consider a case study of a school like Kenyon College or Franklin and Marshall. These institutions have significant endowments but lack the global brand name of a Stanford. If you are an international student with a 1550 SAT score and a compelling personal story, you are a trophy for these schools. They know that if they offer you a full-ride scholarship, your high test scores and unique background will boost their institutional data. In this scenario, your financial need is not a burden to them. It is the price they are willing to pay to improve their global standing. This is how you turn your need into an advantage. By targeting schools that are wealthy but slightly less famous, you position yourself as a high-value asset that helps them achieve their institutional goals. However, you must avoid the financial risk red flag. In the 2026 admissions environment, universities are increasingly wary of students who claim they can pay a certain amount, but then fail to produce the funds once they arrive on campus. This is where the International Student Certification of Finances comes in. This document is usually required alongside your application. If there is a massive discrepancy between what you say you can pay on this form and what your CSS profile suggests, it triggers an immediate audit. Admissions officers are trained to look for consistency. If you claim your family can pay $20,000 a year, but your tax documents show a total income of $15,000, your application is likely to be flagged as high risk. The potential outcome is a rejection, not because of your grades, but because the school does not believe your financial story is credible. To build a credible financial story, you must be a master of the explanation box. This is the final section of the CSS profile, and it is the most valuable real estate on the form. Do not just leave it blank or write a generic thank you. Use this space to explain the 2026 economic conditions in your country. If your local currency has been devalued against the dollar by 15% in the last 6 months, say so. If there are government restrictions on how much currency can be moved out of the country for education, provide the specific law or regulation. If your family's income is seasonal or based on a business that was impacted by regional instability, provide the data. Financial aid officers are not experts in the local economy of every country. You are their primary source of information. Imagine if you could show a university that by investing in you, they are not just educating one person, but they are gaining a liaison to a specific emerging market or a unique cultural perspective that their campus currently lacks. This is the intersection of the admissions essay and the financial aid application. Most students keep these two things separate. The strategic student ensures that the story told in the essay, one of resilience, resourcefulness, and ambition, is backed up by the hard data in the CSS profile. If your essay talks about the struggle of running a community project on a shoestring budget, your financial form should reflect that reality. When the numbers and the narrative align, it creates a powerful sense of institutional trust. Step by step, your goal is to eliminate any reason for a financial aid officer to say no. This means ensuring every tax return is translated by a certified professional, every currency conversion is timestamped and documented, and every asset is explained in the context of your local market. But even with a perfect CSS profile and a strategic list of mid-tier schools, there is one more hurdle that stops thousands of international students every year. It is a specific type of scholarship that sounds like a dream but is actually a logistical nightmare. There are certain awards that are tied to your choice of major, and in the 2026 U.S. education system, these are the most volatile. If you accept a scholarship for engineering but decide in your second year that you want to study philosophy, you could find yourself losing your entire funding package and being forced to leave the country. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to look at the fine print of departmental scholarships and the trap of conditional funding. We will also reveal the secret list of third-party organizations that actually have the funds to bridge the gap when a university's aid package falls short. If you think the university is your only source of money, you are missing half the map. We are about to look at the external funding world where the competition is lower and the rewards are often more flexible. But first, you need to know why choosing the wrong major can cost you $80,000 a year. The $80,000 trap often begins with a single line in a departmental scholarship agreement. In the 2026 landscape of American higher education, universities have moved toward a decentralized funding model. This means that instead of one giant pot of money managed by the Central Financial Aid Office, individual colleges within a university, such as the School of Engineering, the College of Nursing, or the Conservatory of Music, manage their own specific endowments. While this creates more opportunities for funding, it introduces a level of risk that most international students do not account for until it is too late. Consider a case study involving a student named Liam from Ireland. Liam was a brilliant math student who applied to a large research university in the Midwest. He was awarded a prestigious $40,000 annual scholarship specifically from the Department of Aerospace Engineering. This scholarship was funded by a private aerospace corporation that wanted to build a pipeline of international talent. However, by the end of his first year, Liam realized that his true interest was in international relations and public policy. When he went to his advisor to discuss switching majors, he discovered a devastating clause in his financial aid contract. The scholarship was restricted. If he left the aerospace program, the funding disappeared instantly, because the university-wide financial aid pool had already been distributed to other students months prior. There was no money available to help him in the School of Arts and Sciences. Liam was left with a choice: stay in a major he disliked or find $80,000 to cover the remaining 2 years of his degree. In 2026, this scenario is a recurring historical trend. To avoid this, you must perform a step-by-step audit of your award letter. Look specifically for terms like restricted funds, departmental award, or major-specific grant. If you see these terms, you need to email the financial aid office and ask a very specific question. Is this award portable across all colleges within the university? If the answer is no, you are essentially signing a 4-year contract to stay in one specific academic track. For many students, this is a trade-off they are willing to make, but it must be an informed decision, not an accidental discovery in your sophomore year. Beyond the university walls lies the complex and often misunderstood world of external funding. Most international students waste their time applying for massive, high-profile scholarships like the Coca-Cola Scholars Program or the Gates Scholarship, only to realize in the fine print that these are restricted to U.S. citizens or permanent residents. In 2026, the real potential outcomes for international students exist in niche foundations and corporate fellowships that are specifically looking for global perspectives. Imagine if you stopped looking for scholarships and started looking for organizations with a mission that aligns with your specific identity or career goals. Take the case study of a student named Sarah from the Philippines. Sarah knew her university aid package covered tuition, but left a $15,000 gap for housing and food. Instead of looking for general student aid, she targeted the PEO International Peace Scholarship, which provides up to $12,500 specifically for women from other countries to study in the U.S. She combined this with a smaller grant from a regional foundation in her home country that supports students in the health sciences. By stacking these smaller, niche awards, she achieved a full-ride outcome without relying solely on the university's limited budget. Step by step, here is how you build an external funding map in 2026. First, you must categorize yourself across 4 data points: your home region, your gender, your intended career impact, and any religious or community affiliations. There are thousands of organizations like the Aga Khan Foundation, which provides structured scholarships and loans for students from specific developing countries, or the Rotary International Global Grants, which fund graduate-level work in 6 specific areas of focus. The key is to look for organizations that view your international status as a requirement for the award, rather than a hurdle to overcome. Another growing historical trend in 2026 is the rise of corporate-sponsored education for international students in high-demand fields like artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and biotechnology. Companies such as Google, Boeing, and Siemens have established fellowships that provide not just tuition, but a direct pathway to internships and potential H-1B visa sponsorship after graduation. These are not traditional scholarships, they are human capital investments. To compete for these, your application must look more like a professional resume than a student essay. You need to demonstrate how your specific skills will solve problems for that specific industry. However, there is a technicality in the U.S. tax code that catches many international students off guard. In the United States, scholarship money used for tuition and required books is generally tax-free. But any money used for room and board, your housing and food, is considered taxable income by the Internal Revenue Service. In 2026, many students receiving full-ride packages are shocked to find they owe several $1,000s in U.S. taxes at the end of the year. This is a crucial detail to include in your financial planning. You must ask the university if they perform tax withholding on your scholarship, or if you are responsible for filing a non-resident tax return independently. Failing to account for this can lead to a surprise bill that disrupts your entire semester. As you move through this masterclass, you are starting to see that a scholarship is not just a gift. It is a financial instrument with its own set of rules, risks, and strategic opportunities. We have covered the university-wide aid, the departmental traps, and the external niche foundations. But there is a third category of funding that is rarely discussed in public forums because it exists in a legal gray area of university negotiations. Imagine a scenario where you have been admitted to 2 different schools. School A is your top choice but gave you a small scholarship. School B is your second choice but gave you a much larger offer. In the 2026 admissions cycle, many students are successfully using a technique known as financial aid leveraging to get School A to match the offer from School B. This is not a guaranteed process, and if done incorrectly, It can alienate the admissions office. But if you know the specific language to use and the exact documents to provide, you can often unlock an additional $10,000 to $15,000 in aid just by asking the right way. The next part of this masterclass is going to dive deep into the art of the financial aid appeal. I am going to show you the exact email templates that have led to increased awards in 2026, and we will talk about the timing of these requests. There is a specific window of time between March and April when universities are desperate to hit their enrollment targets and are most likely to release extra funds. If you miss this window, the money is gone. But before you send that email, you need to know about the one document that most international students forget to include, which causes the university to reject their appeal instantly. We are about to look at the anatomy of a successful appeal and how to use your other offers as leverage without sounding ungrateful. The difference between a $60,000 debt and a free degree often comes down to one single, well-timed conversation. The conversation you have with a financial aid office is not a negotiation in the way you might haggle at a street market. It is a professional reconsideration request based on new data. In the 2026 admissions cycle, universities are using highly sophisticated enrollment management software that predicts exactly how likely a student is to enroll based on the initial financial aid package offered. If the software flags you as a high-yield student, meaning it thinks you will attend regardless of the money, the school may offer you a lower amount to save their budget for students they are less certain about. Your goal is to disrupt this algorithm by providing evidence that your financial reality has changed or that a competitor has made a more compelling offer. This process is known as an appeal, and it is the most underutilized tool in the International Student Toolkit. To understand why this works, you have to imagine the scene inside an admissions office in late March of 2026. The officers are sitting in a room surrounded by data points, trying to fill the final 10 spots in their international cohort. They have a specific budget remaining, and they are under immense pressure to hit their enrollment targets. If they have admitted 100 international students and only 20 have deposited, they are in a state of panic. This is your window of opportunity. This is when the rigid rules of the early application season begin to soften in favor of institutional necessity. Let us look at a case study of a student named James from Nigeria. James was an exceptional candidate with a high interest in data science. He was admitted to both New York University and Northeastern University. New York University was his first choice, but they offered him a merit scholarship of only $10,000, leaving a massive $60,000 gap. Northeastern, however, offered him a package worth $35,000. James knew that if he simply asked NYU for more money, they would likely give him a canned response about limited funds. Instead, James gathered his evidence. He prepared a professional PDF that included his official award letter from Northeastern and a detailed letter explaining his commitment to NYU. This brings us to the missing document that causes most appeals to fail: the peer institution award letter. Many students make the mistake of telling a university that another school offered them more money without actually proving it. In 2026, admissions officers are instructed to ignore any claims of outside funding that are not backed by an official, dated, and signed award letter from a school of similar or higher ranking. When James sent his appeal to NYU, he didn't just say Northeastern is cheaper. He said, "NYU remains my absolute top choice because of the specific research opportunities in your Center for Data Science. However, as I finalize my financial planning for the 2026 to 2027 academic year, the $35,000 institutional support from Northeastern University makes their offer significantly more viable for my family. Would NYU be willing to reconsider my institutional aid to help close this gap and make my enrollment possible?" Notice the tone. James is not demanding. He is not saying give me money or I leave. He is positioning himself as a partner who wants to make the numbers work. He is giving the university a reason to say yes by reaffirming his interest while providing a clear benchmark. Historical trends in 2026 show that when an international student provides a competing offer from a peer institution, universities are approximately 20% more likely to find additional discretionary funds, often in the form of a one-time grant or an endowed scholarship that was recently vacated by another student who declined their admission. However, there is a second type of appeal that is even more common in the volatile economic climate of 2026: the change of circumstances appeal. Imagine if, since you submitted your CSS profile in November, your home country's currency suffered a sudden 20% devaluation against the US dollar. Or perhaps a parent who was a primary earner faced a significant medical emergency or a reduction in business revenue. In the U.S. system, the initial financial aid award is based on old tax data, often from 2 years prior. It does not reflect the world as it exists today. Step by step, a change of circumstances appeal requires a different level of documentation. You cannot just describe the problem, you must quantify it. If your local currency, such as the Turkish lira or the Argentine peso, has fluctuated wildly, you need to provide a spreadsheet showing the exchange rate on the day you applied versus the exchange rate today. You need to show how that specific mathematical shift has reduced your family's purchasing power in terms of U.S. tuition. If there was a medical expense, you need a translated summary of the costs. When you provide this level of granular detail, you move the conversation from an emotional plea to a factual correction of their data. Another historical trend we are observing in 2026 is the use of the professional judgment. This is a technical term in U.S. financial aid, where an officer has the legal authority to adjust the data points on your application to reflect reality. They can essentially override the CSS profiles calculation if they believe your case warrants it. To trigger a professional judgment, you must be specific. Do not say we are struggling. Say our household income has decreased by 18% due to regional manufacturing shifts, as evidenced by the attached employer statement. This gives the officer the legal cover they need to increase your award. But what if you don't have a competing offer or a change in circumstances? There is still a path to more funding, and it involves the often overlooked regional scholarships. Many universities have small pots of money designated for students from specific parts of the world, funds established by alumni from those regions. In 2026, these are frequently underapplied for because they are not listed on the main scholarship page. Your step-by-step action here is to search the university's internal database for terms like alumni gift, regional endowment, or international diversity grant. If you find one that fits your profile, you can mention it in your appeal. You can say, I noticed the Silva Family Scholarship for South American students. If that fund is still available, I would like to be considered as a candidate to help support my studies. The potential outcome of a successful appeal is not always a full ride. Sometimes it is an extra $5,000 a year. Over 4 years, that is $20,000 you do not have to pay back. It is the difference between having to work 2 jobs on campus and being able to focus on your honors thesis. It is about incremental wins that add up to a sustainable education. As we conclude this part of the masterclass, you must realize that the financial aid offer you receive in your admission portal is a starting point, not a final verdict. But there is a massive catch. Once you accept an offer and pay your deposit, your leverage disappears. You must conduct these conversations before you commit. And while we have talked about getting the university to pay for your degree, there is a whole other side to the 2026 financial equation that involves you earning your own way. The U.S. government has very strict rules about international students and work. If you violate these rules, your visa can be revoked and you can be deported. However, within the legal framework of the F1 visa, there are strategic ways to generate income that actually count toward your total financial package. There are specific roles on campus that pay for your housing and food directly, which are essentially hidden scholarships that don't show up in your award letter. In the next part of this series, we are going to deep dive into the legalities of on-campus employment, the secret of the resident assistant position that can save you $20,000 a year, and how to navigate the 2026 updates to curricular practical training. If you think you are limited to flipping burgers in the cafeteria, you are vastly underestimating your earning potential as an international student in America. We are about to look at how to build a work-study strategy that covers the gaps that scholarships leave behind. To navigate the 2026 landscape of American higher education as an international student, you must stop thinking of yourself as a passive recipient of financial aid and start thinking of yourself as a student employee within a highly regulated but lucrative ecosystem. While your F1 visa is primarily for academic study, the United States government and individual universities provide a legal framework for you to offset your costs through strategic on-campus employment and professional training. In the current economic climate, where the cost of living in cities like Boston, New York, or San Francisco has seen significant historical trends of inflation, these earnings are no longer just pocket money for socializing. They are a fundamental pillar of your financial survival strategy. The most powerful, yet often overlooked, financial tool available to an international student is the resident assistant position, commonly known as an RA. Imagine a student named Yuki from Japan. Yuki is a sophomore at a mid-sized university in Seattle. Her scholarship covers tuition, but she is still facing a $22,000 bill for a dormitory room and a full meal plan. In 2026, The cost of housing in American collegiate hubs is at an all-time high. Yuki applies to be an RA, a role where she lives in the dormitory and serves as a mentor and peer leader for a floor of 30 first-year students. In exchange for this responsibility, her university provides a potential outcome that few scholarships can match. They completely waive her room and board fees. For Yuki, being an RA is the equivalent of winning a $22,000 annual scholarship. But it is not a gift. It is a job that requires high-level conflict resolution, crisis management, and administrative skills. Step by step, the process to secure this role begins a full year in advance. You typically cannot be an RA in your first year. So your goal as a freshman is to build a spotless disciplinary record and engage in campus leadership. You must attend information sessions in the fall, submit a formal application that reads like a professional resume, and undergo a rigorous interview process that often includes group simulations where you are tested on how you handle student emergencies. In 2026, many universities are also looking for international RAs because they bring a global perspective to domestic dormitories, helping American students navigate cultural differences. This is where your international status becomes your greatest hiring asset. Beyond the RA role, the F1 visa allows you to work up to 20 hours per week on campus while school is in session and up to 40 hours during official breaks. In 2026, the minimum wage in many U.S. states has reached $15 to $18 per hour. If you maximize your 20 hours at $17 per hour, you are generating $340 a week, or roughly $5,400 per semester. Over an academic year, including some hours during winter and spring breaks, a student can realistically earn $12,000 to $14,000. This money is often the difference between a student being able to afford health insurance and textbooks and being forced to take on high-interest private loans in their home country. However, the trap many students fall into is taking the first job they find, usually in the dining hall or manual labor. While these jobs are honest work, they do not offer the same long-term financial or professional ROI as high-value on-campus roles. In 2026, you should target positions that align with your major. Look for roles as a research assistant where you are paid to work in a lab with a professor, or a teaching assistant where you lead study sessions for younger students. These roles often pay a higher hourly rate and, more importantly, they provide the references and experience you need to secure the next major piece of the financial puzzle: curricular practical training, or CPT. CPT is the mechanism that allows international students to work off-campus in internships that are directly related to their field of study. In 2026, the historical trend shows that students in STEM and business fields are using CPT to earn significant sums during their summer breaks. Imagine if you secured a 10-week internship at a tech firm in Austin or a financial house in Chicago. In the current market, these internships can pay anywhere from $25 to $45 per hour. A student working 40 hours a week at $35 an hour for 10 weeks would earn $14,000 in a single summer. This is not just theoretical. It is a standard path for students who are proactive with their career services office starting in their freshman year. To legally access these funds, you must follow a strict step-by-step regulatory process. First, you must have been in F1 status for at least one full academic year. Second, the work must be an integral part of an established curriculum, meaning you often have to enroll in a specific internship course for credit. Third, you must receive a new I-20 form from your designated school official, or DSO, which specifically authorizes the employment before you start. Working even one day without this authorization is a violation of federal law and can result in immediate termination of your status. In 2026, the Department of Homeland Security uses highly integrated digital systems to track employment, so there is zero room for error. Another critical step that international students often misunderstand is obtaining a social security number. You cannot get an SSN just because you are a student. You must have a valid job offer first. Once you have a letter from an on-campus employer, you take that letter along with your passport, I-94 and I-20 to the local Social Security Administration office. This number is your financial identity in the U.S. It allows you to open more robust bank accounts, apply for credit cards to build a U.S. credit score, which is vital if you plan to stay long-term, and most importantly, it ensures your taxes are filed correctly. Regarding taxes, 2026 has brought new updates to the non-resident tax filing requirements. Even if your scholarship is a full ride, you are required to file Form 8843 every year. If you earn income through on-campus work or CPT, you must file a 1040 NR. Many students forget that the US has tax treaties with specific countries like India, China, and many European nations. These treaties might exempt a portion of your earnings from federal tax. If you do not know about the treaty that applies to your home country, you are essentially leaving money on the table that belongs to you. The strategy for Part 6 of your masterclass is clear. You must build a three-tiered income model. Tier 1 is your institutional and external scholarships. Tier 2 is high-value on-campus employment, specifically targeting the RA role or academic assistantships. Tier 3 is maximizing your CPT for high-earning summer internships. When these three tiers are integrated, the total cost of a U.S. education can drop by 40 to 60%, even if you did not start with a full-ride scholarship. But as you begin to earn this money and navigate the complex web of U.S. regulations, you will encounter a barrier that no amount of hard work can overcome if you are not prepared for it. It is the hidden cost of the American university system that goes beyond tuition and room and board. There are fees, insurance mandates, and travel requirements that can drain your bank account faster than you can fill it. Many students find that even with a great job and a good scholarship, they are still short by $5,000 to $10,000 because of these silent expenses. In the next part of this series, we are going to expose the hidden fees of the 2026 academic year and show you the secret ways to get the university to waive them. We are also going to talk about a controversial but legal method of reducing your health insurance costs, which is often the most expensive non-tuition item on your bill. If you don't know the difference between a waiver and a payment plan, you are about to find out how much it's costing you. Stay tuned because we are moving from earning money to protecting every dollar you have. Protecting every dollar you have starts the moment you receive your first itemized bill from the bursar's office. For many international students, the initial excitement of a scholarship is quickly tempered by the shock of what we call the secondary bill. While your scholarship might cover tuition, the university will often present you with a list of mandatory fees that can total anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 per year. In 2026, these costs have become a significant part of university revenue models, and if you do not know how to navigate them, they can effectively cancel out a small scholarship. This part of the masterclass is about the financial defensive maneuvers you must take to ensure that your funding actually stays in your pocket. Let's look at a case study involving a student named Alex. Alex received a half-tuition scholarship to a prestigious university in Massachusetts. He calculated his costs based on the tuition minus the scholarship, but when his first bill arrived in July 2026, he was stunned to see an additional $4,200 in charges. This included a $3,500 health insurance premium, a $500 international student orientation fee, and various technology and lab fees. For Alex, whose family had budgeted down to the last dollar, this was a financial emergency. However, Alex realized that many of these charges were not fixed costs, but default selections that could be modified or waived entirely. The single largest non-tuition expense for any international student is health insurance. In the United States, healthcare is privatized and extremely expensive. Universities require all F1 and J1 students to have a level of coverage that meets specific federal and institutional standards. By default, every school will enroll you in their own group insurance plan. In 2026, historical trends show these plans cost between $3,000 and $4,500 per academic year. For many students, this is a non-negotiable expense they simply pay. But here is the secret of the hard waiver system. Most universities allow you to waive their expensive plan if you can prove you have purchased a private insurance policy that provides comparable coverage. Step by step, here is how you perform a health insurance comparability audit. First, you must go to the university's student health portal and download their insurance waiver requirements. These requirements usually include 5 specific criteria: a deductible of less than $500, at least $500,000 in total coverage, coverage for pre-existing conditions, and specific amounts for medical evacuation and repatriation of remains, usually $50,000 and $25,000 respectively. In 2026, there are several specialized insurance providers for international students, such as ISO, PSI, or International Student Insurance, that offer plans specifically designed to meet these university requirements for a fraction of the cost. Imagine if instead of paying $4,000 for the university plan, you purchased a compliant private plan for $1,100. You have just saved $2,900 with about 2 hours of paperwork. To execute this, you must purchase the private plan and submit the policy certificate to the university's waiver portal before the deadline, which is typically in early September. Once the university's third-party auditor verifies that your private plan meets their standards, the $4,000 charge is removed from your bill. This is one of the most effective ways to protect your capital. Beyond insurance, you must look at the mandatory student fees. In 2026, we are seeing a rise in technology and infrastructure fees as universities invest in artificial intelligence tools and high-speed campus networks. While these are often non-negotiable, other fees like the athletic fee or the campus center fee can sometimes be waived if you are a graduate student or if you are conducting research off-campus for a semester. Additionally, look for the international student fee. Many schools charge an extra $300 to $500 per semester just for the administrative cost of processing your I-20. While you usually cannot waive this, you should check if your scholarship specifically allows for this fee to be covered. If it says it covers tuition and fees, ensure the international fee is included in that calculation. Now, let's talk about the strategy of the tuition payment plan. Most international families feel the pressure to pay the entire semester's balance in one lump sum before classes begin. In 2026, this is often a strategic mistake, especially if your home country's currency is experiencing volatility. If you pay $80,000 in August, you are locked into the exchange rate of that day. Most U.S. universities offer an interest-free payment plan that allows you to spread the cost over 4 or 5 monthly installments per semester. There is usually a small enrollment fee of $60 to $100, but the potential outcomes of using this plan are significant. Using a payment plan allows you to keep your money in a high-yield savings account or a stable currency for longer, earning interest while you pay the university in smaller increments. More importantly, it gives you a buffer against currency fluctuations. If your home currency strengthens in October, your October payment becomes effectively cheaper than it would have been in August. Furthermore, it protects you in the event of an emergency. If you pay the full year upfront and then have to take a leave of absence for a medical reason, getting a refund from a university bureaucracy can take months. If you are on a payment plan, you simply stop making future payments. Step by step, to set this up, you must log into your student account and look for the Payment Options tab. You should select the installment plan before the first bill is due. Be extremely careful to set up an automated transfer from a U.S. bank account. If you try to pay these installments via international wire transfer every month, the wire fees will quickly eat up any savings you achieved. This is why our previous advice on getting a social security number and a U.S. bank account is so critical. We must also address the hidden expense of textbooks and course materials. In 2026, the historical trend shows that a typical student spends over $1,200 a year on books. However, the American higher education system has a massive internal market for used and rented materials. Never buy a new textbook from the university bookstore, unless it is a custom edition that cannot be found elsewhere. Instead, use your syllabus to find the ISBN numbers of your required text weeks before class starts. You can rent these books through platforms like Amazon or Chegg for 20% of the retail price. Even better, check the university library's reserve desk. Most professors are required to put at least 2 copies of the required textbook on reserve, which you can check out for 2 to 3 hours at a time for free. Imagine if you combine these strategies. Waiving the health insurance saves you $3,000. Using a payment plan protects your cash flow and saves on potential currency losses, and renting books saves you $800. You have just improved your financial position by nearly $5,000 without needing to find a single new scholarship. This is the difference between a student who survives in the US and a student who thrives. However, even with these protections in place, there is a looming challenge that every international student faces when they attempt to prove their financial viability to the US government. Your scholarship and your savings are only half the battle. You have to convince a consular officer that your funding is not just present, but accessible and sustainable for the duration of your degree. In 2026, visa denials for international students are increasingly based on perceived financial instability rather than academic qualifications. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the high-stakes world of the F1 visa interview. We will look at the exact documents you need to prove your scholarship's legitimacy and how to answer the dreaded question: how will you pay for years 2, 3, and 4? If you don't have a specific answer for the future of your funding, your scholarship might never even get you across the border. We are about to decode the mindset of the visa officer so you can secure your entry into the United States. The visa interview is the final and most high-stakes filter in the entire scholarship journey. In 2026, The United States Department of State has implemented more advanced data cross-referencing tools within the Consular Consolidated Database, meaning that the information you provided in your CSS profile, your university application, and your DS-160 visa form must align with surgical precision. If there is a single discrepancy between the financial narrative you told the university and the one you present to the consular officer, the potential outcome is a summary denial under Section 214(b) of the Immigration and Nationality Act. This section assumes every applicant is an intending immigrant unless they can prove otherwise, and in the current academic year, the primary way you prove your intent to return home is by demonstrating a stable, sustainable, and legitimate financial foundation. To decode the mindset of a visa officer, you must understand that they are not financial auditors, they are risk assessors. They have approximately 2 to 3 minutes to decide if your story makes sense. When you walk up to that window with an I-20 that shows a $60,000 scholarship and a $20,000 family contribution, the officer is asking one core question. Is this realistic? According to historical trends in 2026, officers are increasingly skeptical of what they call hollow funding, situations where a student has just enough money for the first year, but no clear path for the subsequent 3. Imagine a case study involving a student named Kwame from Ghana. Kwame was an exceptional student who secured a prestigious $45,000 merit scholarship from a top-tier research university in Texas. His I-20 showed that his uncle would provide the remaining $15,000 per year. During the interview, the officer asked a simple question: "What does your uncle do for a living?" Kwame hesitated. He knew his uncle was a successful trader, but didn't know his specific annual income or the name of his registered business. That hesitation was a red flag. To the officer, it looked like the uncle was a sponsor on paper only, a common tactic where families pool money into one account to show a high balance for a single day and then withdraw it. Kwame's visa was refused because he could not demonstrate the sustainability of his funding beyond the immediate snapshot of a bank statement. Step by step, your financial documentation for the 2026 visa interview must go beyond the bank letter. You need a comprehensive financial portfolio. This starts with the I-20 form, which is your primary evidence of admission and funding. However, you must also carry the original signed scholarship award letter from the university. This letter should clearly state whether the award is renewable and what the specific conditions for renewal are, such as maintaining a 3.0 grade point average. If your scholarship is not renewable, you must be prepared to explain exactly how you will cover the increase in costs for your second year. The next layer of your portfolio is evidence of liquid assets. In the 2026 regulatory environment, land deeds and gold holdings are considered secondary evidence. They prove wealth, but they do not prove liquidity. The officer wants to know that if tuition is due on September 1st, the cash is available to be wired. You should provide bank statements from the last 6 months, not just a single balance certificate. Historical trends show that officers look for a steady flow of income into the account, rather than a sudden, unexplained deposit. If a large sum of money was recently moved into the account, you must provide a documented source for that money, such as a proof of property sale, a matured investment bond, or a business dividend. Imagine if you are Isabella from Brazil, who secured a partial scholarship and is relying on her parents' income for the rest. Isabella didn't just bring a bank statement, she brought her parents' 2025 and 2026 tax returns and their employment contracts. When the officer asked how her parents could afford the $20,000 gap, she was able to state their monthly net income, their years of service at their respective companies, and the fact that they had been saving specifically for her education since she was 10 years old. This level of detail builds credibility. It shows the officer that the family has a long-term plan, making the student a low-risk candidate for overstaying their visa due to financial distress. Another critical aspect of the 2026 interview is the sustainability of the sponsor. If your sponsor is an individual rather than a government or an organization, you must be able to explain their motivation. Why is this person paying for you? If it is a parent, the motivation is clear. If it is a distant cousin or a family friend, the officer will be much more suspicious. You must be able to describe the relationship and why this person is committed to a 4-year, 6-figure investment in your future. If the sponsor has children of their own, you need to be prepared to explain how they can afford to fund both their own children and you simultaneously. In 2026, we are also seeing a shift in how officers view on-campus employment in the financial equation. While we discussed how you can earn $12,000 to $14,000 a year through work study, you generally should not lead with this during your visa interview. The F1 visa is for students, not workers. If you tell the officer that you plan to pay for your education by working on campus, they may deny you on the grounds that your primary intent is employment, or that your financial plan is too fragile. You should present your scholarship and your family's funds as the primary source, viewing any on-campus earnings as a supplemental buffer for personal expenses rather than a requirement for tuition. Consider the potential outcomes of the dreaded question: what will you do if your scholarship is revoked? In the 2026 context, the correct answer is never "I will find a job" or "I will stay in the US and figure it out." The only acceptable answer is a return to your home country's financial plan. You might say, "While I am committed to maintaining the GPA required for my scholarship, my family has secondary assets that we are prepared to liquidate if necessary, or I would return home to continue my studies at a local institution." This demonstrates that you understand the rules of your visa and that you have a fallback plan that does not involve violating US law. Step by step, you should also prepare for the digital audit. Consular officers in 2026 have the authority to review your public social media presence and professional profiles like LinkedIn. If your LinkedIn profile says you are currently working full-time in a position that you didn't disclose on your DS-160, or if your social media shows you expressing a desire to move to the US permanently, it can override even the best scholarship package. Ensure your digital footprint is professional and consistent with the story of a dedicated student who intends to gain skills in the US and then bring them back to their home country. The successful visa interview is a performance of preparation. You must know your numbers as well as you know your own name. You should be able to state the total cost of attendance, the exact dollar amount of your scholarship, the remaining balance, and the specific source of every cent of that balance without looking at your notes. When you speak with that level of confidence, the officer stops looking at you as a potential immigrant and starts looking at you as a legitimate scholar. But getting the visa is only the beginning of your physical journey. Even with the visa in your passport and the scholarship in your pocket, there is a final gatekeeper you must face before you ever set foot on your new campus. The Customs and Border Protection officer at the port of entry has the power to turn you around and send you home on the next flight, even if your visa is valid. There are specific questions they will ask about your scholarship and your arrival that catch many students off guard, leading to secondary inspections or even expedited removal. In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to walk through the first 72 hours in the United States. We will cover the port of entry interview, the activation of your SEVIS record, and the critical steps you must take within the first 3 days to ensure your scholarship funds are actually disbursed into your account. If you miss these administrative deadlines, your scholarship could be delayed for months, leaving you stranded without a way to pay for your housing. We are moving from the embassy to the airport, and the stakes have never been higher. The moment your plane touches down at a major U.S. gateway like JFK, LAX, or O'Hare in the fall of 2026, the theoretical phase of your scholarship journey ends and the logistical reality begins. You are no longer just an applicant with a high SAT score. You are a non-immigrant student carrying a significant financial liability for a U.S. institution. As you walk toward the Customs and Border Protection Hall, you must understand that the visa in your passport is merely an entry permit. It does not grant you admission to the United States. That power rests entirely with the officer standing behind the booth. In the current 2026 security climate, the scrutiny on international student funding has reached a new peak. Officers are trained to look for discrepancies between the funding stated on your I-20 and the reality of your arrival. When you reach the front of the line, you must have your documents ready. This is not the time to be digging through a backpack. You need your passport, your signed I-20, and your original scholarship award letter. In 2026, many students are making the mistake of carrying only digital copies on their phones. Historical trends show that CBP officers frequently request physical, original documents if their local systems are experiencing latency. If the officer asks how you are paying for your studies, your answer must be immediate and consistent. Imagine a student named Li Wei arriving at San Francisco International. When asked about his funding, he simply said his school was paying. The officer followed up by asking for the specific name of the scholarship and the remaining balance Li Wei was responsible for. Because Li Wei had not reviewed his award letter recently and struggled to provide the exact figures, he was flagged for secondary inspection. Secondary inspection is not a sign of guilt, but it is a significant delay that can last hours. In this room, officers perform a deep dive into the SEVIS database, the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. They are checking to see if your record is in initial status, and if the university has confirmed your intent to enroll. To avoid this, you must ensure that your university has updated your SEVIS record to reflect your specific arrival date. Once the officer is satisfied, they will stamp your passport, or more commonly in 2026, create a digital I-94 record. This I-94 is the most important document you will generate at the airport. It is the legal proof of your entry and the specific duration of your stay. You must download this record from the CBP website the moment you get to your dorm, as your university's financial aid office will require it to verify your legal presence before they can release a single cent of your scholarship. The next step in the 2026 masterclass occurs within 48 hours of your arrival: the International Student Office check-in. This is the bottleneck where many scholarship disbursements get stuck. Most international students think that because they have arrived on campus, the money will automatically appear in their student account. This is a fallacy. In the U.S. higher education system, your scholarship is tied to your active status in the SEVIS system. Until a DSO, a designated school official, physically verifies your passport, visa, and I-94, your SEVIS record remains in initial status. While it is in this status, the university's bursar office is often legally barred from applying institutional aid to your bill. Step by step, you must prioritize this check-in over everything else, even orientation events. You must upload your documents to the university's portal or present them in person. Once the DSO clicks the button to change your status to active, a data bridge is triggered between the international office and the financial aid office. This process can take 24 to 72 hours. During this window, your student account will still show a massive balance due. Do not panic, but do not ignore it. You should monitor your student portal daily. You are looking for the status of your aid to change from anticipated to disbursed. However, even when the aid is disbursed, it only covers the charges on your university bill, such as tuition and campus housing. If you have a full-ride scholarship that includes a stipend for living expenses or money for books, that money does not go to the university. It must come to you. This leads us to the critical hurdle of the U.S. bank account. In 2026, the era of the paper refund check is almost over. Universities now almost exclusively use electronic fund transfers or e-refunds. If you do not have a U.S. bank account linked to your student profile, your stipend money will sit in a holding account for weeks. Opening a bank account in 2026 as an international student requires 3 things: your passport, your I-20, and a proof of physical address in the U.S., such as a housing contract or a utility bill. Many students find themselves in a catch-22. They need the scholarship money to pay for their first month's expenses, but they can't get the money without a bank account, and they can't get a bank account without a proof of address. This is why you must have an emergency fund of at least $2,000 to $3,000 in liquid cash, or a globally accessible credit card for your first 30 days. Historical trends in 2026 show that the average time from campus arrival to the first stipend hit is 21 days. Imagine a case study involving a student named Sophia. Sophia had a full-ride scholarship that included a $2,000 monthly stipend. She arrived with only $200, assuming her stipend would be available on day 1. Because she arrived on a Friday, the international office was closed. She couldn't check in until Monday. Her SEVIS status didn't update until Wednesday. She opened her bank account on Thursday, but the university's payroll system only ran on bi-weekly cycles. Sophia spent her first 10 days in the U.S. unable to buy a meal plan or a blanket for her dorm room because she was waiting for a system to process her. The potential outcome of poor timing is a high-stress start to your academic career that can lead to burnout before classes even begin. To master this phase, you must understand the disbursement calendar. Every university publishes this. It tells you the exact date aid is applied to the bill and the exact date that credit balances are released to students. Step by step, you should compare this calendar to your arrival date. If your arrival is late due to visa delays, you must email the bursar's office immediately. In 2026, if you are not physically present by the census date, usually the 10th day of classes, your scholarship can be automatically rescinded and reallocated to a student on the waitlist. Once your bank account is linked and your aid is disbursed, you will see a negative balance on your student portal. In the world of university accounting, a negative balance is a good thing. It means the school owes you money. You must then authorize the e-refund. This is a separate step in the 2026 student portals. You have to tell the system exactly which account to send the surplus to. Once that money hits your account, you have officially transitioned from an international applicant to a funded international scholar. But the 2026 scholarship game is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Many students think the hard work ends once the money is in the bank. They don't realize that a U.S. scholarship is a conditional contract. There are specific behavioral, academic, and even social media benchmarks you must maintain to keep that funding for years 2, 3, and 4. If you treat your first semester as a vacation, you might find your scholarship revoked by January. In the final part of this masterclass, we are going to look at the long-term survival of your funding. We will talk about the 2026 GPA requirements, the hidden trap of the incomplete grade, and how to navigate the renewal process when university tuition increases, but your scholarship stays the same. We are about to look at the finish line and how to ensure you actually graduate with that $0 balance. The next segment is the most important one for anyone who wants to stay in the US for the full 4 years. Stay with me because we are closing the loop on your global education strategy. Maintaining your scholarship for the duration of a 4-year degree is the final and most difficult phase of this masterclass, requiring a level of administrative vigilance that matches your academic intensity. In 2026, American universities have transitioned to a model of high-frequency auditing. This means your financial aid is not just reviewed annually, but often on a semester-by-semester basis through a framework known as Satisfactory Academic Progress, or SAP. For an international student, failing to meet SAP is not just a financial setback. It is a status-ending event. Under the 2026 guidelines, if you lose your institutional funding, the university is often required to update your SEVIS record to reflect a lack of financial support, which can lead to the immediate termination of your F1 visa. To understand the mechanics of SAP, you must look at its two primary components, the qualitative and the quantitative measures. The qualitative measure is your grade point average. While many merit scholarships require a 3.0 or a 3.5, the federal and institutional SAP floor is often lower, around a 2.0. However, the quantitative measure, known as the pace of progression, is where most international students stumble. PACE is calculated by dividing the total number of credit hours you have successfully completed by the total number of credit hours you have attempted. In 2026, most institutions require a PACE of at least 67%. Imagine a case study involving a student named Diego from Mexico. Diego was a brilliant engineering student at a university in Colorado. During his sophomore year, he felt overwhelmed by a heavy course load and decided to withdraw from 2 of his 5 classes after the drop-add deadline. He thought he was being strategic by protecting his GPA. However, because those 2 classes remained on his transcript as withdrawals, they counted as attempted but not completed credits. His pace of progression dropped to 60%. Even though his GPA was a 3.8, the financial aid office flagged him for an SAP violation. Because his scholarship was contingent on maintaining SAP, his funding for the next semester was suspended. Diego was forced to file an emergency SAP appeal, which required him to prove that his withdrawal was due to an extenuating circumstance, such as a documented medical emergency or a family crisis. Without that documentation, the potential outcome would have been a total loss of his scholarship. Step by step, you must monitor your pace of progression as closely as your grades. Every time you consider dropping a class, you must consult with both your academic advisor and your financial aid officer. You need to ask specifically, how will this withdrawal affect my scholarship eligibility for the next term? In 2026, many students are also encountering the incomplete grade trap. If a professor gives you an I grade because you missed a final project, that grade is often treated as a 0 by the financial aid computer systems until it is replaced by a letter grade. If that audit happens during the winter break, you could receive a scholarship cancellation notice before the professor even has a chance to update your transcript. Another historical trend in 2026 that you must account for is tuition inflation versus fixed scholarships. This is a mathematical reality that catches thousands of families off guard. When a university awards you a $20,000 scholarship, that dollar amount is usually fixed for 4 years. However, tuition is not. In the current economic climate, U.S. universities are raising tuition by an average of 3 to 5% annually to cover rising laboratory costs and faculty salaries. Imagine if your tuition is $50,000 in your freshman year. With a 2026 inflation rate of 4%, your tuition in your sophomore year will be $52,000, and by your senior year, it will be approximately $56,000. If your scholarship remains at $20,000, your out-of-pocket gap has grown by $6,000. You must build this increase into your long-term financial plan. Historical trends show that students who do not account for this often find themselves unable to pay for their final year, leading to a phenomenon known as senior year attrition. To combat this, you must look for the scholarship top-off. In 2026, many departments have small internal grants for upperclassmen who have demonstrated exceptional loyalty and academic performance within their major. As you move into your junior and senior years, you should proactively ask your department head about continuing student scholarships. These are rarely advertised on the main university website, but are used by departments to ensure their top students can cross the finish line. We must also discuss the conduct and social media clause. In the 2026 academic environment, your scholarship is not just a reward for your intelligence. It is a contract for your character. Universities are increasingly protective of their institutional brand. Most award letters now include a clause stating that the scholarship can be revoked for violations of the Student Code of Conduct, which includes off-campus behavior and, significantly, your digital footprint. If you are involved in a campus protest that leads to a disciplinary record, or if you post content that the university deems a violation of their community standards, they have the legal right to pull your funding. In the era of viral content, a single lapse in judgment on a Friday night can lead to a scholarship termination on a Monday morning. Furthermore, you must be aware of the 8-semester limit. Almost every scholarship for international students is capped at 4 years or 8 semesters of study. If you change your major late in your college career, or if you fail a required course that is only offered once a year, you might find yourself needing a 9th semester to graduate. In 2026, finding funding for a 5th year is nearly impossible. Universities prioritize their aid for incoming freshmen and current 4-year students. This is why academic planning is a financial necessity. You must work with your advisor to create a 4-year map that accounts for every single credit required for graduation, ensuring you have a buffer for potential setbacks. As we bring this masterclass to a close, you must realize that the 2026 scholarship landscape is a game of strategy, data, and persistence. You have learned how to mine the common data set to find the schools with the deepest pockets. You have learned how to use the CSS profile to tell a compelling financial story. You have learned how to leverage competing offers, how to protect your capital through health insurance waivers and payment plans, and how to survive the high-stakes visa and border interviews. But the most important lesson is this: an international student with a scholarship is not a guest in the United States. You are a global asset. You are bringing your culture, your perspective, and your intellectual energy to an American campus, and in return, that institution is investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in your potential. Your journey does not end at graduation. The financial discipline you have built over these 4 years will be your foundation as you transition into the professional world. Whether you move into optional practical training to earn back your family's investment or return home to lead in your local community, you are now part of an elite group of individuals who navigated one of the most complex financial systems in the world and came out on top. This 10-part masterclass has given you the map, but you are the one who must walk the path. The data is clear, the strategies are proven, and the opportunity is waiting. But even as you master the American system, the global landscape of education is shifting. There is a new emerging market of funding that isn't coming from the universities themselves, but from a network of global alumni who are bypassing the traditional institutions to fund the next generation of leaders directly through decentralized finance and private fellowships. In our next deep dive series, we are going to look at the rise of the private fellowship and how international students are securing funding from billionaire alumni networks before they even receive an admission letter. If you think the university is the only source of wealth, you are only seeing half the board. We are about to show you the shadow market of global education funding that is redefining what it means to be an international scholar in 2027 and beyond. The strategy continues.